Hello, everyone. Welcome to Average Age Groupers. The weather. I feel like if you watch this, you can tell how Wisconsin is functioning by what Holly and I are wearing because we're back to winter time. It literally snowed on our run this morning,
I didn't know that.
even though, yep, Casey and I are just yogging along, and I'm like, it is snowing. Like white flurries are blowing past me, and I am immediately hostile.
And
The
it is
spring has
April
been
19th.
rough.
April 19th. I was running in shorts last week. It's going to be 80 on Tuesday. We're coming to you to yap about some gravel bike racing.
We're going to talk about that, but before we jump into that, we should introduce ourselves. This is episode five. If you listen to episode 4, it might feel a little disjointed. So sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties, so I just want to call that out right away as the editor and producer of this show. So sorry. But my name is Holly. I am the producer and co-host.
I am Laura, one of our hosts.
And I am Maggie, also one of our hosts.
So, Holly, what did you
happened yesterday?
say? Holly, tell us what you did yesterday.
So we did tease this a little bit in the last episode that I was doing a gravel event, and that happened yesterday. The gravel event is called the Dairy Roubaix, which is supposed to be like funny play on like Paris-Roubaix and bike race. Right. There's also one in Michigan, I think, that also happens this same weekend called the Blurry Roubaix, but that's like a legit race. Like it's like a for real race, not just an event. This was just an event. Nothing was timed. It was for the fun of it. And I work with a coach, and initially she and I discussed that I would do the long route for this race, which was 111 miles. This was pre-car accident concussion, which I know we also have hinted at that. Like, I don't need to tell the whole car accident story. I was in a car accident. I have a concussion. Fine. So we originally planned this before that happened. And after that happened, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. My intention is to start out and try and see what happens, but I might pull the plug. And so she and I had the arrangement, knowing that Laura was going to be there to Sherpa, that at any point during this event, I would bail. There's like no reason to make the concussion worse and not be able to race later. We had that agreement. It was fine. First off, we had planned to get an Airbnb the night before to be up there because it's about 2 hours, 2:15 hours from where we are in Madison to this location. And so I was like, let's get an Airbnb so we don't have to get up stupid early to go to the race. That was our plan. Friday night here in Wisconsin, we had severe weather. Like really severe weather. Tornadoes, straight line winds.
All week we've had severe weather.
Yes.
Like the list of tornado warnings on my phone, like I get them through work. Like it was a full, I feel like, text thread of these tornado warnings. And so, yeah, we woke up Friday to this like weather coming through at the exact time we wanted to leave Wisconsin.
Which also does not bode well leading into a gravel race. It's different than leading into a road ride where like if it rains, it'll hopefully dry up and it'll be fine. Gravel, you don't want to be riding through mud and in storms, like downed trees, just not
Like-
setting up well.
No, that was like a bad start. So then we were like, okay, we canceled the Airbnb. We're like, we're going to drive in the morning, but we'll try to all drive together. But then we were trying to coordinate whose car we were going to take. It was a whole thing. And again, the storms are like ruining all the plans because I'm like, well, now I have to get up at like 3:30 instead of 5:30. That's a significant difference. Or I probably would have even been okay to get up at like 6:30 if we had been up there. So we were trying to like coordinate when to go to bed, also like concussion symptoms, blah, 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 all the things. And so we ended up driving separate. So Claire and Laura and Aaron and I drove separately to the event. So we wake up in the morning. It had been like 80 degrees on Friday. We wake up in the morning and it's like 30, maybe.
No,
23.
it's
What
like
was it?
It was like 23. Feels like 13.
Yeah, so cold. Now we have to drive the 2 hours. Yes. So we drive the 2 hours to this location, which is west of here,
Ferryville,
Ferryville.
Wisconsin.
Yes. Which is near Viroqua. If people are familiar with Wisconsin, Viroqua's sort of a well-known town.
I learned about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot out there. We arrive at the event. It's so windy. It's so cold. I'm wearing all of these layers that I was really hoping to not have to be wearing because, like, extra clothes is like a whole other thing when you're on the bike. We go in.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what
Oh,
did
go
you
ahead.
end up wearing?
I ended
Like,
up
did you
wearing
do
my.
shoe covers,
Mhm.
tights?
Yes. Yes. So I wore tights, a pair of pants over, well, like bib tights, a pair of pants over those, shoe covers, wool socks, a base layer shirt, and then like an insulated, it's like a running jacket, but it's like puffy. It's like a puffy running jacket. And then I started out with the race with a ski helmet on, not my regular bike helmet because it was so cold and the ski helmet's warmer. But yeah, we walk in to the place where you like get your number and you check in and let everybody know that you're there. And she's like, "What race are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm planning on the 100 miler." She's like, "Okay, well, we're encouraging everyone doing the 100 miler to not start any later than 8 a.m." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Can I start earlier?" She's like, "Yeah, choose your own adventure." Then they're telling us about this coffee shop just to paint the picture of whatever county we were in. I don't remember the name of the county. They're like talking about this coffee shop that was giving away free espresso shots to all the bikers. And they're like, "Okay, you're going to arrive in Viroqua and it's one block off of the course to the north. You're going to see it. There's one stoplight." He's like, "There's 3 stoplights in our entire county. That's one of them. So you'll go through the stoplight and then it's on your left." And so I was like, okay, so we're in the middle of nowhere. Like there's, right. We go back out to the bikes. We're like getting the bikes ready. Aaron was supposed to have the map like loaded in his bike computer. He didn't load it in his bike computer. He just like made the map on his phone.
And we're just like, literally, Claire and I like make eye contact and we're like, oh dear. Because like I'm standing there at this, like the start of this race and my phone's already in SOS.
Yeah,
And
there's
so
no
I'm like,
service.
oh dear, dear, dear.
Yeah. I am like instantly annoyed because that was like he told me he was going to take care of it and he was like, "Well, I couldn't get it, like Map My Run isn't supported by Wahoo." And I was like, "I know that. That's why I don't use Map My Run." And I was like, if I would have known, I would have made the map. Whatever. It was fine. We got a paper copy. We got started. I was very angry anyway, which is not the best energy to like start an event like this.
Well, and like I feel like too, like you're cold, like you're still recovering, and then it's like that one thing where you're like,
just like sends you because you're like, this is too much
too
now.
much.
So we like leave out of the place. I get like, I'm like trying to shift on my bike and like halfway down the driveway from the place that we're leaving from, I like realize I haven't put the battery on my bike. Thankfully, I had it in my bike pouch so like I could stop and take care of it right there. I didn't have to try to go back. So we stop. I put the bike battery on my bike. We keep going. We ride down the driveway. And as soon as we get like down the driveway, it is like so windy. Like we knew it was windy, but like you don't fully grasp it until you're like hit with it. We were a little bit protected right where we like started, like the first quarter mile or whatever. It hits us. We have to turn onto this highway for just like a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile.
Should we specify the highways we're talking about are like county
roads?
C,
Yes.
trunk E.
Yes, that's a good distinction because that is probably not the same as what a lot of people around the country would
But
think
like
of when they think
for
of
this
highway.
area,
For this area,
the highways
was paved road.
Yeah.
The highways are paved versus everything else is gravel. So we go down and we immediately, the first right that we have to take onto the course is like a 1.5 miles straight up fucking climb
of gravel.
And I'm like, I'm not warmed up. I have not been climbing big hills. I do not have climbing legs yet. Like, and I get, I don't know, partway up and I was like, screw this. I'm walking to the top. I get off my bike. I start walking. Aaron and I get to the top. And it was one of those moments, like I should have taken a picture, but in the moment I was so cold and still angry and whatever. And I like look at it and you could just like see the gravel, like it's like a yellow ribbon through like green on both sides, and you can just see it. It's just like up and down, like huge, not like nice rollers, like huge rollers with double-digit grade. I'm like, great, this is how this fucker opens. Like no chance to warm up, like just all in. We go through these big rollers, we hit another highway, we connect to another dirt road with like a scary descent. And so I start to realize like these are going to be really big ups and really like big scary downs. I am on my TT bike on a triathlon course that's not typically very technical. I'm a pretty competent descender. I am a below average climber, but pretty decent at descents. Not like overly cautious. I was terrified. Like these descents were scary.
Were there curves in the descents, or was it
Yes.
straight descending?
No, they
Yeah.
were like curvy. You can't see like shadows on the like all of that, and 20-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah.
So we end up back on some more gravel because this descent was on the first descent was on pavement, and then there was another one that was on gravel. But like we end up kind of like back on this back road. We're climbing again. I know I'm going to see Claire and Laura at like mile. I think we thought we were going to see you at 15, but you were a little
we were
bit
earlier because it was like one of those where I'm like, oh dear, we should probably pivot my checkpoints and like see them quicker.
Yeah. So we climb up, like we're on this gravel road. We have to climb up to where they are at the top of the hill. The first thing I say is I'm 100% not finishing this.
Vibes are low.
Yeah.
Like they rolled up and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. I was just like, I feel terrible. My legs feel like we're 15 miles in. My legs feel like trash. At that point, we had climbed 1,600, 14 miles in.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And I was like,
And had you eaten at that point? Like,
we met them, I think it was an hour 15. At that point, I was averaging 9.8. But because of the wind, I was so scared to eat on the bike because like I didn't want to take my hands off the handlebars because these gusts of wind would come and just like felt like they would blow you across the road. There were several points where you and I experienced this when you were here and we rode on that terribly windy day where maybe we shouldn't have rode. It was like that, where like literally I'm like, my bike is at an angle and I'm like trying to hold it upright against the wind.
yeah.
So at that point, I'm like, I was ready to pull the plug then. Like, I think Aaron told me, he's like, I thought you were quitting at mile 14.
I thought I was loading the bike in the car.
Yeah.
And somehow she like at one point I was like, I'm not giving you the option. But she's like, okay, well, we need to get moving before I get cold. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're going.
So then I got in my head, I was like, okay, if you make it to 25, like you need to make it worth your while, right? Like last weekend you rode 4 hours, so you need to at least make it. Like I started to like negotiate with myself of like, I still need to get a long ride in. We're going to make what we can of this. Yes, it's going to feel terrible, but like give yourself sort of these like check marks of if you make it to here, it's okay to quit. If you make it to here, it's okay to quit. So if it was like, okay, if I make it to 25 miles, that was like the first thing. We see them at 24 miles.
Also, I'm just going to like give this preface. So like Claire and I are like getting to these checkpoints. So I have like in my head this next checkpoint. And I'm like, oh, turn here. And we turn and it's like immediate uphill on a gravel road. And I was like, oh dear. And so she like keeps driving and it's like winding and it just keeps going. And this whole time I'm like, okay. It's like it keeps going. So we finally get to the top and we like park. And I'm sitting there like this internal struggle. And I'm like, we have to go to the bottom of this hill. I said, Holly will kill me if I make her go up that hill. Which like in hindsight was very
the right
smart
decision.
of us
Yeah.
because we realized once we went down to this hill and we're waiting, that was the turn for like the 70-mile medium route course and the 100-mile long route course. And so then we're like, I think they just pivot.
Which was like the smart thing for them to say, because in one of my negotiation points was, well, if you could make it to mile 75, like you can quit at mile 75. As I'm like playing all the things, but as we're riding, so we come down this like scary descent, but we get into this valley where it's actually kind of flat. We're protected in this valley, like the wind is like quieter, the sun's out, and I was like, well, if this was the whole ride, like no problem. Like, so we're in the valley. The gravel's pretty decent. It's not too muddy. And but then we start climbing again. Like we're not in there for more than a couple miles. We start climbing again. And as we're climbing, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to see them at like mile 25. I can quit at mile 25 if I have to. Like if this climb is just impossible. So we're like, it's like a very slow grade up and we see them. And we stop there, and then Laura points out, she's like, if you just go straight, it's the medium route. If you turn and go up that hill, like that's the 100-miler. And I was like, okay, I'm already like in for switching routes. And again, because this was very much a choose your own adventure race and like not race event, they didn't care. Like they literally like don't care at all. I think all the races cost the same amount of money too. So it was like, or all the distances cost the same amount of money. We decide, yep, we're going to stay on the 70-mile loop. Then there's more riders too, because we had been alone. We started early. We had been alone. There weren't a lot of people. But as we got to that 24-mile mark or whatever, there were more people around. So there's also more people to follow, like whatever. We have to climb out of this valley that we're in. So we climb up out of the valley. Then I'm like, okay, we need to make it to Viroqua. So the next stop was the coffee shop in Viroqua.
And like all of these are like 10 miles apart.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, 10 miles. I'll see you in 10 miles. Like we just got to get to 10 more miles.
So we climb up, we get into Viroqua. It's so windy, like so windy. We stop at the coffee shop. We go in, like use the bathroom, get our free espresso shot, sit there for a minute, and like make the rest of the plan. So I ditch the ski helmet at that point for my regular helmet because the ski helmet was like kind of hurting it was like feeling too tight with like sunglasses and everything. So I ditched that for like the regular helmet.
Took off your pack.
Took off my pack, decided not to continue to ride with that because it was kind of hurting my back, which whatever, concussion, whiplash problems. We go back out, and when we go back out, the first turn we make is like dead into the wind, like straight on headwind. And it was the kind of like biting cold wind where I was like, shit, I made the wrong choice to switch helmets. No, I hadn't. I had switched helmets before
You
that.
put your buff on.
But I put my buff on at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
I put my buff on at the coffee shop, but I still thought this was a bad decision. I should have put the ski helmet back on because it was that kind of cold that like through the vent of your helmet feels like an ice cream headache. Like so cold. So I'm just like following Aaron. At this point, Aaron has figured out how to make the map work on his phone. He has all of the directions.
I was going to ask if you're still using paper.
He still had
that
paper.
would be insane.
Yes.
Well, once in Viroqua is where like the long route would have met up with the medium route. So like he had it like loaded on his phone with the map when I run. So like
so we could start. We knew like from there we'd just follow from that point. Yeah. And he got his phone to work. He literally electric taped a battery pack to his handlebar because his phone was dying.
Oh my gosh.
So like
which this is also a plug for, and if we get to my story of riding yesterday, like when you're going on these long rides, bring some zip ties, bring some electrical tape, bring at least a mini first aid kit, obviously all of your bike tools and everything to fix a flat. Like you need to be prepared for everything.
I think the interesting part, it would have been vaguely different if there was a route on a bike computer because like, I mean, my phone battery was pulling so much battery just for like going in and out of cellular range. Yeah. That like that's what was causing such a big issue too. So
there were also a couple places where because of the lack of service we had to reference the paper. Like we'd come to an intersection, we'd have to find it on the paper because there were turn by turn on the paper and be like, okay, which way do we go? And there were a couple times where we made a mistake. So we added we didn't go too far before we realized it, but there were a couple times.
They leave the coffee shop.
We
And
leave the
meanwhile,
coffee,
like
yeah.
every time I see them, I'm like fully prepared for Holly to be like, I'm done.
Yes.
So I'm like, every time they like rolled away, I was like, yeah, we did it, Claire.
Well, the other like game I was playing in my head was, how far do you push your concussion symptoms? Like how long, like where does this become detrimental to your recovery from this concussion? And like I don't know how to find that line exactly, and I kept like negotiating with myself about it, and I also kept being like, well, there's no fucking way you're doing Unbound. Like there's no way. There's no way you're doing it. Like you need, like in my head, I did not start Unbound 100 times in the opening 25 miles of this ride. Like I was like, there's just no way. If Unbound is anything like this, you are not in shape to do that. And then I also moved from Wisconsin to a warmer climate at least 100 times on this ride, because I was like, if we lived anywhere like, and I said this the first time we saw Laura and Claire, as I was like, minus one element of this, I would be okay. Minus the wind, minus the cold, minus this concussion. Like this is like a totally different ride. I just need one thing to be slightly better and I would be okay. But it was like the combination of it's so cold, it's so windy, and I have this concussion.
I do think like, and I'm not gonna, this sounds like totally tooting my own horn, but like there was never a point that I was like, she's pushing this too much. Like I do think that the nurse in me is very in tune of like people's behaviors and how they're acting. And I was like, yes, she's pushing herself. This doesn't feel good, but I was never like concerned. So,
well, and I think the place you probably would have been concerned, I didn't stop. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that point.
She avoided me.
We keep going. We keep making it through like the various checkpoints. It's cold. It's miserable. I think after we left the coffee shop, we like climbed up to like on pavement. We were on pavement for a while. And we climbed up to the top of this road, and the wind gusts at the top of the hills were so insane. I know people talk about like getting blown around on their bike and blown around on their TT bike and not feeling safe and worried about being blown in traffic. I legit was being blown like into the road. Like legitimately, like my bike was moving over out of my control in these wind gusts. And I don't know what the gusts were. We
didn't actually like look, but like today we were like, okay, the wind gusts were like 19 miles per hour. I was like, they had to have been
like 30.
At least that.
Because it was a sustained wind of
day,
18.
Yeah, the day that we rode when I was there in Wisconsin and it was really windy, that was sustained winds of about 20 and gusts of about 40. So if that gives you context for how
it was in that neighborhood. Yeah, that seems right. Yeah. Only it was way colder. Yeah. Way colder. But so we had to do this like very scary descent on pavement. Again, this part was still on pavement. And I was like braking the whole time. Just like, this is terrifying. I don't know exactly where I hit max speed, but I was looking at my Strava this morning and my max speed at one point was 35 miles an hour, like 34.9 on the gravel bike. Right. So, and I don't know how many of our listeners like understand the differences between bikes, but like, this is significantly slower than that descent would have been on a TT bike, for example. We get down to the bottom of this hill, and there's this giant cardboard sign, and it just says DR with an arrow. And I was like, okay, we're supposed to turn here. Obviously, this is the only place there's been any markings anywhere on this course. So we turn, and we drive into this park, and all of a sudden we ride through the parking lot, and there's like, that's the end. There's nothing there. There's no trail. There's nothing. Another sign, giant cardboard sign, just says DR with an arrow going across the grass. We ride across the grass, and then all of a sudden it becomes like Singletrack. And we're going along.
That sounds fun.
I was like, Maggie would love this. Thankfully, we're like protected in this space. So this is like one of the spaces where there was no wind. One of the things I didn't say about the scary descent on pavement was we were also descending into a headwind, which is like one, sucks away the momentum, but also makes the bike feel more unstable. We turn on to, anyway, we get back to this park. We turn in on the grass. We're on this Singletrack. We're going along next to this very pretty pond on this Singletrack. It then turns back to just grass. So we're on the grass and mud. This is the only place where it was actually considering all of the rain, this was the only place where there was actual mud. We're riding through this mud. We get to this thing, and all of a sudden, you have to go up on this. I called it a berm, but what did Aaron call it?
I don't remember. I feel like it's like a bridge type thing.
It was like an embankment of dirt around this like pond. Only it goes like straight up. Like the kind of thing where you have to like push your bike up, but when you push your bike up, it's like ahead of like it would be like pushing your bike up a wall, essentially, right? Like it was straight
And
up.
it's dirt.
And it's dirt. I was like, no fucking way I'm riding that. So I like ride to the bottom of it. I get off. I push my bike up to the top. At one point, I thought Aaron was going to try to ride it. He didn't. He also got off and pushed it because he was a little bit like, if I don't make it to the top, I'm going to fall over. And now I'm going to be dirty and wet because it's muddy here. Yeah. We pushed the bikes to the top. We look back. I was like, oh, this is really pretty. I should take a picture. But again, I didn't. We then ride down the back side of that into a section that was actually probably the most fun of the ride. So there was some decent downhill. The climbs were all that were in that section were all very like reasonable, you know, less than 10% grades. And there was a lot of pavement in there. So we made it to our next spot to see them. And it was protected. We made it to our next spot to see them more quickly than we had made any of the prior ones. And I think at this point we were at what, 45-ish? At that point I was like, okay, we've ridden for 4 hours. So like I have also checked I rode as many hours today as Maggie and I rode last week. I was like, I'm still okay. I'm behind on nutrition because I've been so nervous. I know I have not been taking in enough nutrition to this point. Anyway, you should tell the story of like what you and Claire brought to this stop.
So Claire and I have been talking about sagging this for like the last week. And at one point she's texting me and she goes, we need to get a rotisserie chicken. And I'm like, what? Like,
For who?
So apparently during Ironman last year on all of the rides with her and Aaron, they somehow were talking about a rotisserie chicken. And she's like, you just wait, I'm going to show up with one. And so like we're talking about this and she's like, we have to get a rotisserie chicken. And I was like, to eat? And she's like, well, yeah, and for the bit. And I was like, okay. So like also we're in Viroqua. There is 2 quick trips in this city. So we stop at the quick trip. They don't have it. We go to they have a co-op and get this chicken. And so we're also not fully prepared for them to roll up to this spot because they came quicker. So we like see them and she's like, get the chicken. So like,
Wait, also, can we pause for people that are not in Wisconsin? Quick Trip is the best gas station. Like
it's like
they
a gas
have
station,
a full
grocery store,
basically. Like they're
people literally
fabulous.
do
I'm
their
shocked
grocery
they didn't
shopping there.
have a rotisserie chicken.
It was a smaller quick trip, I will say that. They like roll up and like they stop like slightly like past our car. So they're like kind of not paying attention. And I'm like sprinting around the car holding this rotisserie chicken. And finally Aaron like clocks me and he's just like giggling. And Holly's like, what is happening here? But he full on eats like 2 chicken legs.
He eats 2 chicken legs
Like-
on the side of the road.
Not standard endurance sport nutrition at all, but you know what? It works.
It works.
Yeah. He fared better than I did, probably, because he had some chicken.
It was like salty. And I like said that and he's like, I don't think it's that salty. And we're like, yeah, you're dehydrated. That's what that is. So
yeah,
that's 41. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, literally just get her every 10 miles. And like, I feel like you were mentally quite a bit better.
Yes.
There.
I think because we had gone through a section where I no longer thought that I was a shit biker. Like I was having all of these, like, I am shit at this sport. Like I'm terrible at this. And what am I, like, I am so far out of like my depth in terms of like what I'm capable of, what I'm trained for, blah, blah, blah. Like all of the dark thoughts that you could have, I was having, right? Like this is impossible. There's no way I can ride Unbound. I'm going to like, I may not make the cutoff. I'm going to be out here all day, whatever. But this little section that was like definitely the best part of the day, I was like, okay, you don't suck at this. Like you actually can ride like decently fast. Like whatever, you minus the wind. But at the stop, I like eat a half bag of Haribo that I had left over from Spain and had a Coke. And then he had the chicken. We kept going. When we turned at that point, like we did again, turn onto another county road for a while, and it was like direct headwind on this road. So when we turned off of it, like we were no longer protected, back in the headwind. But we're on that. I felt like we were on that for a while.
For a while.
And again, we're having the moments of like getting blown around on the road and just like it being really hard. We get off of that into another like gravel valley situation, but it starts out with this like chunky, loose gravel. It's a little bit of a climb, and we climb up, and all of a sudden we have to descend the most terrifying descent I have ever descended in my entire life. So it's chunky gravel. It's a little bit washboard because of all the rain. So there's like, you're in the shadows of all these trees. So it's like not the easiest to see like what the best line is. While you're on gravel and there's not a ton of traffic, people still live back there. So there's also still the chance that you're going to meet a car at some point. I'm guessing we were descending somewhere between a 15 and a 20% grade down this hill. It's also curvy. I was so scared. I was like, I'm thinking to myself, like, you cannot crash. Like, do not, like, it's okay to ride your brakes, but don't stop suddenly. Like, be careful. Don't like grab them and like what, like all of the things that you're trying to think about. Literally, it was as we got to the bottom and it started to like level out a little bit. Aaron, who is normally very much like a woohoo, like let's go crazy on these descents, and he was pretty far in front of me also, but like we get to the bottom of it and it levels out and he was like, that was not fun. And I was like, okay, I'm not entirely crazy, that was really scary. And
Can we pause and do some like practical tips for descending? Because
yes,
this is something I think has come for me from mountain biking and gravel biking more, but it's like talking to people and learning about how to do this better, and still something that I could get a lot better at, but there are things that help. So I think the biggest thing that I think about when I'm doing a curvy descent, first of all, wherever you're curving, your inside leg, you want to be up because you don't want the pedal to hit the ground. You know that from TT riding. But also
Like, I
putting
don't
more
think
weight.
people realize that. Like, there's even like road bikers and TT bikers that like don't know how to properly descend.
Yeah,
So,
because when you're making the curve, your body and your bike are going to lean. If your inside foot is down, that pedal can hit the ground and then you're skidding out, you're crashing. So inside foot up. So that knee should be bent, other leg straight. But you also want to think about putting your weight and pressure into your outside leg, because again, your bike is leaning. So when you put the pressure into your outside leg, that's balancing your weight distribution to make you more stable on the curves as you're turning. So that's one thing. And then Holly was talking about braking. She's totally right. You never want to slam on your brakes on a descent, especially on gravel, because it's likely then that you're going to skid out and then you would crash. So gradual braking, more constant gradual braking is much better than slamming on the brakes. And then going into a curve, brake before the turn and ease up on the brakes as you're going around the curve and coming out of it. I mean, again, these are things that I still need to practice and get better at. It comes with just lots of time riding, but I think it can be really scary. So I always appreciate when people give me some tips and tricks of how to do this better. Yeah.
Yes. I think the braking thing I feel okay about. The correct leg being up or down is where I definitely need work, because I have a tendency to lean into my left leg just as a general rule. And so sometimes I'll find myself being like, pull your left leg up and have to actually like tell myself to do that because my instinct is to put my left leg down just in general. And what I will say is that from that, at the bottom of that hill, like when we started going again, I was like, oh, I like just put all of I like had to have had my left leg down the whole time because it was so tense. Like when we started riding again, I was like, oh my gosh, like I might have just like blown my left quad out of fear.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a natural thing, and I notice this just like descending on a TT bike, like there is like a natural leg that just goes straight, and like having to consciously be like, okay, let's think this through of what's happening. So
yeah.
Well, and even, I mean, like clipping in and out, like people generally have a preference of which leg they do first and second with that. And I think probably plays into which leg you would typically put straight versus bend. But it's really important to be thinking about that when you're taking turns, and especially taking turns descending.
Yes. So we make it down that hill. I'm terrified. I'm thinking, I say to Aaron, I don't know if I can do any more descents like that. Like I'm like, I don't think I can like mentally, emotionally handle another descent like that. But then also, we just, we have to climb the equivalent to get the back the fuck up out of here, right? We're like riding in the bottom of this valley again. It's super windy. Now we're like in a wind tunnel. We're like going along. The grade isn't too bad though. It's like maybe like 1%, 2%, then it'd be kind of flat. There'd be like these little whatever. There'd be like one punchy climb. There were a couple that I walked back there because I was just like, I don't have legs to do this right now. So I like would walk up some of the bigger ones, but anywhere that I could, I would at least like attempt and then like get off halfway or whatever. We're like going through everything. And I'm thinking I'm going to see them again in 10 miles, which should have been like mile 61, 62, and they're not there.
this was the one, one jump that.
Yeah.
Well, we saw you at
50
51.
something.
Because she was like, that was the scariest descent.
Oh, okay. There was one more step then. Okay, so, but after that, we're still like down in this valley. And we're riding along, and I was like, oh, I have to use the bathroom. And I start to debate with myself because I'm like, you have only like 10 miles, like whatever. We're down into the like, this is almost over. Like, can you make it to the end or not? It's kind of mentality. And I'm like, well, I think I would feel better if we stop. Well, like you heard at the beginning how many freaking clothes I had on. So I'm also going to have to use the bathroom on the side of the road in the woods.
Freezing.
So I have to stop. I have to take everything off. I do go to the bathroom on the side of the road. We were not the only people who were doing this. Like multiple different like bikers we were passing were like, are you okay? We're like, yeah, just a bathroom break. I'm like, okay, great. I give up. I use the bathroom. At this point, I also take ibuprofen. I haven't talked about the cramps yet. I started to get like crampy legs right before I saw you at 50.
She took salt at like the 51 mark.
Yeah, I was going to ask, was this feeling like salt nutrition, dehydration kind of cramping, like muscle fatigue kind of cramping?
It was 100% that. And I knew when the cramps started, I was like, I just don't have, like, I just have not built the muscles for this yet this year. Like, we haven't gone, like, the hills I'm climbing, I'm doing hill repeats on are like baby hills compared to every single hill on this course. I took a bunch of salt when I saw them around 50. So between 50 and 65, I have to stop and pee. We're in this valley. It's actually like some of it's like really wind tunnely. At one point I start getting like, just make it stop. And we'd get behind a hill and it would get better for a little while. We had to go down another scary descent where at the top of it, I was like, Aaron, I cannot keep doing these scary descents. This one wasn't as bad, but I had like freaked myself out good, right? So I was like, I don't want to descend anything. Like, where's my flat course? I want a flat course. We climb out. We see them we don't see them yet. We're riding along and I say to Aaron, my vision's kind of blurry. I can't tell if it's the concussion or if my glasses are dirty. And he's like, that's not
a good sign.
No. Yeah. We're riding up to this intersection and he goes, these people want to talk to us. And I was like, I don't want to talk to these people.
We are those people. Meanwhile, like the best part is like every time we stop, we're like, okay, what is the most obnoxious thing we can do to just like maybe provide some entertainment. So like we're parked, we have lawn chairs, I have music blaring, and we're just like screaming. And she comes, it's this corner too, and she goes, "We're not stopping." And I'm like, "Bye." And like at that point, there was like 7 miles left because we were at like 64.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay.
Well, there were multiple reasons. One, I was afraid if I stopped that would be the place that I pulled the plug because I wasn't feeling super good. And I was like, you're so close to the end now. Like, what difference is it going to make if you stop? Or if you quit now? Like, you'll be mad that you didn't finish the last little bit. And then also I was like, I also just want this to be over. So if I stop and I stand there for 5-10 minutes, then I'm just prolonging this torturous day. We like ride by and just keep going. They pass us going up this hill. At this point, I'm still riding, but we hit a point on this hill where I like look up and I was like, remember when you were like terrified coming down the hill? You're now climbing the equivalent out of here. I ride up as far as I can, and then I said to Aaron, I was like, I have to get off. And so I got off and I walked to the top of the hill, and it was like one of those hills that's like up, and then you can see the curve, but you can't tell if the curve is like gonna flatten out or if it's gonna go up again. So I'm like up, curve, up, like just, it was so far up. This guy rides by us on the bike. We're walking. He's not going very fast, and I think, well, I'm not that much slower than you walking right now. Like, so we get up, my hamstrings are on fire climbing up this hill to like just walking. Aaron starts telling me, he's like, I'm wondering how I can get back out here to like practice for Lake Placid. And I'm just like, please.
Honestly,
Holly's
not
like-
a bad idea.
She's like, I'm never coming back to this city ever in my life.
We get to the top. Actually, as we're walking up, I look over, I can see the next, like there's a descent and another hill, and I can see the next hill like over there, and there's a guy pushing his bike up the hill on the other side. And I'm like, great. So we get to the top.
You're like, that's what I have to look forward to.
Yeah. So like we ride down the hill, and it was not very long. It was not nearly as long down this time. So we like ride down the little like roll and as far up into the next one as we can get before I have to unclip again. But I unclip and we start pushing it up, and Aaron turns on the little elevation thing on his bike computer, and he's like watching. He's like 12, 15, 18, 19. And I was like, yeah, we're just walking this. Like, screw this. So we walk back to the top, descend that hill. We then come up to like another main road that we have to get on. And at this point, most of what we have left is on pavement. But like, I climb the second one out of there, and I was like, and I turn on my little thing so I can see what it is. And as I'm climbing up, it's like 6, 7, 11. And I was like, okay, like I can climb at like 11, but I don't want to fucking climb like at 15 to 18 or whatever the other one. Just the different. Also, like how quickly it happens matters, right? Like if it's like straight, which that second one felt like that. We get up on to the road. Now we're on the top of these hills. So the wind again is insane. And all I keep thinking about is I just want the wind. Like I just want the wind to go away. Like I will climb all day if the wind will just stop. And again, we're in a headwind and it feels like it's pushing you backwards. We're on pavement. There's also cars now. So everything is like, and I'm exhausted. Aaron's like, we just have to go a little further and then we're going to turn. So we go up, we turn, and then he's like, I turn, I'm a little bit ahead of him, and he starts yelling, stop, stop, stop. It's not this turn, it's not this turn. So we have to turn back, get back, like now we have to like cross traffic, get back on the road. We go up further, we take the next left, and we have to descend again.
This road is called McQueen.
On
and like,
gravel or road?
No, this was pavement.
road. I was on the phone with you, Maggie. This is the road we lost service.
Oh, yes.
So like we drive down this hill, and I'm like, ooh, this would be fun on our TT bike. And like you're in a car, so it's like, eh. So then like she explains it when she gets back, and she's like, absolutely not.
No, it would be terrifying on a TT bike. It was terrifying on the gravel bike. Again, I don't know how
Because
fast.
it was steep or
It was super
curvy or both.
very,
Super
very
steep.
steep. And just like, you're just descending so fast. The other thing I will say, like, I can't emphasize enough how much the wind impacted this. experience overall, because there were times where we were descending into a headwind where it's like sucking away all your momentum, but then also it just felt so unstable, where there were points where I was like, I think I'm not moving. I think the wind is pushing me backwards. It wasn't, but like that was like the feeling of like running into a wall. So there were things, and then anytime there was like a gust crosswind, it was like so scary. And of course, I have kind of a deeper wheel set, which didn't help at all in this particular situation. At one point, I was like, Aaron, I don't know, maybe I need a different wheel set for Unbound. Like, this is just like.
You do have pretty deep wheels for gravel. And I think they came standard on the bike that you got, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, I have ridden with quite a few different people on gravel. I have maybe only seen one person with as deep of wheels as you have for gravel.
There were so many things. At one point, Aaron and I were riding next. This was like somewhere in one of the nice valleys. And I was like, okay, we need to make an appointment with Neff's, which is our like local bike shop, and like talk about what are the widest tires we can possibly get put on this bike. I want my handlebars like rewrapped with like the extra gel wrap stuff. Like this was just like, there were so many things about this that were super eye-opening. And then also I was like, I honestly am like I don't know that I can finish Unbound if it's conditions like this. Like, I don't know enough about what those hills are like. Hopefully they're not that bad. But if they're even close, like, I'm screwed. We end up finishing, like, Aaron turns us around. We descend this other scary descent. We end up finishing. We, like, pull in to finish the event. This is, like, a no frills. There's no finish line. There's no, like, anything.
Technically was, but it was, like, down. And so, like, they then would have had to like climb up, and I was like, I just let them come to us, it's fine.
Yeah.
And like when I say finish line,
Not
it's
worth
like
it.
it's like a 10-foot patch of dirt with some like caution tape, and I was like, no, just let them finish at us.
We saw that, and we were also like, there's like a parking lot that was like at the bottom of the hill, or like where that caution tape and stuff was, and I was like, why didn't we park down here? Like, now we have to ride up this hill to get back to the car. It wasn't that bad compared to everything else we had ridden that day. We ride back up, we stop. Laura and Claire are there, and they're like cheering, and all the other people around are like, what?
To summarize, like these, hold on, the dog is stuck in my sweatshirt. Gravel vibes are very different than triathlon vibes, and I think 80% of the people that were biking around Holly and Aaron thought Claire and I were crazy. Because we had the cowbell out and we were cheering for every single person that went by us. So they like come rolling in and we're like,
it might also have just been this event because it's
Maybe.
like so grassroots, small, local. Yeah.
Well, like they come in and so we're like cheering and screaming and everyone's just like staring. It's like, well, we said we would bring the vibes. So
Yes, they definitely brought the vibes. I was grateful, even though in the moment I was like so miserable. I was like, I can't even appreciate it. I mean, I can, but like I can't because I'm just so over this.
we took no offense.
No, they did not. They were great because I was like, I don't have it in me to even pretend to be excited. But so we finish, we load everything up, like we go back. At this point though, like I go in, I like change into regular clothes. We're sitting in this like dining hall because this was at a camp. So like the whatever, it was like a dining hall is where it started and finished. And it was so loud in there, and I was like, I can't handle any more like noise. Like I just want to sit in silence just from like the wind and everything. So we like didn't really hang out. Like we left, like we didn't talk to anybody. We just like packed up, left.
I also was like, this girl needs some
real food
in her. Like she looks slightly not colored correct. I'm like, okay, let's get food.
Do you have an estimate of how many grams of carbs you took in during the whole ride yesterday?
Well, I ate like almost 2 full bags of Haribo gummies from Spain. I had 2 bottles, the equivalent of 2 bottles of nutrition that each had 60 grams of carbs in them. I had a mini Coke. That's it.
That would be it.
Girl,
Some water. I had some water and I had some coffee.
the water and coffee do not add
Don't
carbs.
I did start the day like I ate like my oatmeal and like a decent breakfast to start the day. But
I mean, yeah, but like, Holly.
So when I tell you, I like looked at her and I was like, "You look depleted. We need food."
it was one of those things where I had full plans. Like we had packed enough for me to have a bottle every hour for 10 hours. Like I had packed enough, but I did not account for how terrified I was going to be and how that was going to impact what I consumed. So, because there were just so many times where I was like, I cannot take my hands off this bike to like reach for a bottle. And there were a few times where we stopped and ate. At one point when I stopped to pee, we ate there again. And I did take 2 ibuprofen at that point too.
Does your pack have like a long tube straw?
It
Like a
does.
water pack, or is it like a pack that has like the bottles?
No, it's like a water pack. But I gave that up at mile 35. It was only had water in it
Yeah.
because my back was hurting so bad.
I also wear a pack when I'm doing long gravel rides, and I put nutrition in my pack because I feel like that's the easiest. Like I can just like bring the straw up to my mouth while I'm riding, plop it back. I'm not having to like reach down, grab bottles. So that might be helpful.
Need to find a pack that doesn't hurt.
These packs, like, I've never ran with a pack or worn a pack, but like Claire and I were touching them, and I'm like, these feel uncomfortable just like holding them. So I also like feel like there's other options available.
Yeah. I need to try to find something that either maybe it needs to sit like low. I'm not sure what the issue is, but like what happens is like and again, you have whiplash symptoms, right? So like the base of my neck and like shoulders like hurt so bad.
And like you're cold, I think too, like cold and wind naturally on a bike, your like shoulders just tend to creep up, and so like that muscle gets overworked a little bit too.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to work it out because we were talking about it for Unbound. I was like, well, maybe I can get away with not wearing the pack the whole day. But then we were talking about when we're gonna see people in Unbound, and I was like, no, I'm gonna have to figure out how to wear it for more than half of it for sure. Unless I do like the dweeby triathlon thing and put bottle cages behind my seat on my gravel bike. That's
Which
the
you
only other
could do,
option.
but I would be a little concerned with gravel that bottles would fly out of the rear bottle cages.
Yeah, I feel like you would have to have like the straps that hold them down.
And in this case, it would not have helped me at all because I was so scared I wouldn't have reached back to get them. So
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, so that was the day. It's done. It was 72 miles and like 6,600 feet of climbing.
And let's pause on that because that's huge. 6,600 feet of climbing is a lot. I think Unbound is supposed to be about 10,000 feet over the 200 miles. So
yeah.
Well, even the 100-mile course was like 8,000, and so I'm like, you're slamming like the amount you would do at Unbound essentially into like half the distance. So
yeah, at some point I'll have to figure out on that course like what are the grade of these hills because that will be the factor probably. And I'm hoping that they're not as punchy as they are here. Although Aaron and I told him, I was like, well, now we need like a hill repeat day, maybe 2 every week from now until Unbound. We only have 6 weeks. I don't know how the fuck we're gonna get all this shit in, but we're gonna try. So
how does your body feel today?
Better than it should considering. So my neck and shoulders are very sore. My legs are tired, but they're not like, I've felt way worse. Like they have hurt way worse. I have a bit of a headache, which again, I think is a concussion symptom.
and possible dehydration.
Both things
And
can be
weather
true.
changes, honestly, like
Yeah.
just lots of factors.
All of the things.
So today I just went for the coach that I work with. She had said take a rest day, maybe do like a leisurely walk. So I did that. I have an optional swim on for tomorrow. So that'll really depend on how my neck is feeling with the whole breathing thing. But I was thinking there's some lanes open at the warm water pool. And I was like, well, that's not the best for like a swimming workout. That might feel really good. Might be worth it. Yeah. So we'll see.
I do think, honestly, sometimes when it's colder outside, it can make it miserable for the day of the event, but it helps the body the day after. Because, like, thinking of Ironman Wisconsin 2022, I felt totally fine the day after that. And I think, I mean, it was a miserable day. Like, realistically, my legs should have been blown apart. But I think partially because it was cold, I felt better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
could be. It was
Yeah.
cold. It took so long to feel warmed up.
Yeah.
So that was my ride. You want to talk about your ride?
I can do a brief recap of my ride. I went out on gravel. We're so lucky here in Northern Virginia. We have really, really nice gravel to ride on and lots of it. And I think, I don't know a ton about this, but I think that there's at least one organization that does a lot to try to preserve the gravel roads around here, which is great. I am very lucky to have that. So I went out on a 67-mile gravel ride with 3 of my friends who I ride gravel with pretty regularly. It was 67 miles. I think we got about 4,500 feet of climbing. Some long, grindier climbs, some punchier ones. For me, it felt challenging, partially because I had done a 13-mile run on Friday. The training plan I'm following for Ironman prep puts my long runs in the middle of the week, which is good so that I can get multiple long rides in on weekends, but it does mean I go into the weekends with tired legs. And then also I've just like had a crappy week. So there was one point that I cried on the ride yesterday. It was not due to any of the physical exertion. It was just like there's too much going on. So it felt hard. It was beautiful. It was, I think, mid 80s, sunny. Around mile 25, we stopped at this adorable little country store that had hot, fresh apple cider donuts that were delicious. They had little baby goats, a baby lamb. We hung out there for probably like 40 minutes, maybe a bit too long, but we were having a good time. And then we kept going. We were going to make a stop at an ice cream place at mile 38, but they weren't open yet. So then we kept going after that to another cute little country general store that has the best ham sandwiches. Like, I don't know what kind of ham they're using, but this is not like your standard grocery store ham sandwich. It's so good. It's like thinly shaved, well salted, put some mustard on there. It's delicious. So we had ham sandwiches and we found Andy's mint chocolate chip ice cream sandwiches. So we also had those. So we're having a good time. After that general store, there are 2 ways you can go. One way, you have to fully cross a creek, like up to your knees deep water. So when we do that, we're always like taking off our shoes, taking off our socks, fully carrying our bikes over the water. Or you can go another way. Instead of crossing through the water, there's this, it used to be a road. Now it's like very torn up asphalt that goes over the water, and it's got like trees over it. So you still have to get off your bike, carry your bike over these trees. But either way, to get to either of those spots, you have to do a pretty steep technical descent. So we decided to do the option that was not the creek crossing. It was the one where we would climb over the bridge and over the trees. And that descent, it's steep, and then towards the end, there's a sharp left turn. The gravel there was pretty loose. And yesterday I was really trying to focus on practicing technical skills. So I was thinking about my cornering. I was trying to get in my drops on the descents and doing that so that apparently it is more stable, but it feels scary because you're lower down on your bike. So I was in my drops on this descent. I got close enough to that sharp turn and I was like, oh, this is sketchy. So I hopped up onto my hoods. I braked quite a bit. I made the turn. I ended up fine, but I was like, yeah, that was sketchy. So one of my friends was in front of me. We make the next turn. We stop. We're waiting. We don't see our other 2 friends start coming around that corner. So we wait for another minute, and then I'm like, I'm going to go back and check and see if they're okay. One of them on that turn had slid out and crashed. And so she had some pretty significant cuts and scrapes on her knee and her elbow. Her jersey and bibs were torn up. She's pretty sure she hit her head coming down. So we had to stop there for a while, obviously, like wanting to make sure she's okay, take care of her, decide like what we're gonna do, because we're also in the middle of nowhere, really. Like, we could call an Uber. It would take a while for an Uber to get there. We sit there. She decides she's feeling okay. She wants to finish out the ride. We had like 19 miles left, so we went another 8 and stopped for a bit. She still was feeling okay, so we went the rest of the way. But then by the end of that ride, I think I personally was feeling just a little more like nervous on both the climbs and the descents. I was just trying to be like really aware and pointing out like if I saw potholes or calling out if the gravel was loose and having more space between me and the other people I was riding with. Just, I think anytime after you see someone crash, it just makes you more aware of those things. She finished the ride. She was such a trooper. She sent us some pictures later that night, and like her whole shoulder and back were cut up, and I'm sure she's going to have some massive bruises from that. She's going to go get her head checked out. Definitely getting a new helmet. That's also something for anyone who does not bike much. Anytime you crash, replace your helmet. Do not keep wearing the same one. Even if you're not sure if you hit your head, get a new helmet. So yeah, it was an intense day. I think it was still a good day, but it's just making me think of kind of similar thought process that you're going through. Like, what can I do to really be prepared for Unbound, and also just prepared for every ride to like be safe and make sure I'm setting myself up for success. So I mentioned this earlier, but none of us had any first aid supplies. I think from now on I'll keep like some gauze, some Band-Aids, at least like minor things in one of the bags on my bike. Electrical tape would also be good to have. And it is making me think more about, I always have my phone with me when I'm riding, but I mean, really in the area we were in, it wasn't like we were losing service, but it does just make me think about like, do I need some sort of like GPS communication device, something so that I can make sure if I get into an emergency situation, I have a way to contact people and get help if I need it. So that was a really brief overview, but that was my day yesterday. I do think I'm going to try to get out for a ride today. It was raining this morning. It's starting to get sunny now. So I think I just kind of want to shake out my legs. I don't think I'll ride super long or hard, and I'll probably ride on road, not gravel. And I have found that just doing a little bit of movement helps like get the blood flowing and make my legs feel better. So that's my update from this weekend.
Well, thank you to everyone who like listened to my whole very long event recap. Hopefully it was at least a little entertaining or informational. We're going to keep learning as we go through these recaps of events and things that we're doing. If you have feedback, would love to hear it. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So like, subscribe,
Tell your friends.
share,
Share.
follow us on Instagram, follow us on the YouTube, leave a review on the podcast platforms. Right now we're on Apple and Spotify. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, bye.